Well, it is almost the end of January, so that means we're coming up on a pretty sad anniversary. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. You see it in the corner. You always see us representing them. But the anniversary of Kobe's death is coming up on us here in this next week. So thought we'd take this segment to kind of talk about that, talk about, maybe your favorite memory of Kobe or what you thought when you heard about it. Anything you want to talk about in this time about Kobe. This is it's your time to get it off your chest and talk about the GOAT. We're gonna start with Dolo. We went that way. Let's go this way.
Man, I don't even know where to start. I mean, we could start with where I was at when I first got the news. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget. It was a Sunday. Obviously, I was in an AutoZone getting something for my car, and I hear the guys who work there behind the register. They're just vaguely talking like, yeah, you heard about such and such? I didn't hear the name they said, and they was like, yeah, that's sad, man. He had 4 daughters, huh? So I didn't pay much attention. I just thought they was just talking about like a coworker or somebody they personally knew. So I didn't pay much mind. Then I go outside, I get to my car, and one of my other homeboys texts me like, bro, Kobe. And that's all he said. And I was like, nah. I started piecing together what they was talking about and then what that said. And I was like, nah, it still can't be real. I'm not even. And then I think you sent it to the group chat. You sent it like the official headline or whatever. And it floored me. I was on my way to pick up my daughter. And I just had to pull over for a minute and like just gather myself because it fucked me up. Like, I cried for probably like about a week when that happened, off and on. Yeah, man, somebody like we literally grew up with, especially our age group specifically. Like that's probably the one player I can think of. Remember watching his whole career from start to finish, like literally his first game all the way up to his last game, and then all the memories in between that, like watching his 81-point game with my grandma, watching his last game with my uncle the year he died, watching the 81-point game with my grandma the year she died, and just everything, you know what I'm saying, all the memories of he just gave us growing up, and just his attitude more than anything else, like the attitude that growing up in LA, you watching him so closely, you kind of pick up just naturally, like that chip on your shoulder, that especially now I'm reading that 3 Rings book, and it talks about how he was all like for most of his life he was always isolated. Like when he was over in Italy, he was the only black American kid over there. Then when he came back to America, he was isolated because he hadn't been over here, so he was in like an all white school, and they were talking about how he was always just doing things that's like trying to like prove his blackness, and like he was just never felt like in place. He was just always kind of like an outlier or an outcast, and I kind of identified with that a little bit growing up, moving around a lot, and so I like I said, man, he was just more than a basketball player to me. He was like a figure to just model your whole attitude and your whole approach to life.
It's a fact.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean the anniversary's coming up, and it's gonna be a sad day, but at the same time, his death just reminded me that tomorrow's not I mean, his death kicking off the type of year that 2020 was just a reminder that tomorrow's not promised to any of us. Like he was invincible to us growing up. You feel me? Like we would have never thought we was gonna see him die before Magic, before Bill Russell, before Dr. J, like
Jerry West.
Yeah, before so many people. Like, yeah, it was just a reminder. You just gotta live life to the fullest. Never take a day for granted. And then you add into it that the way he died. Like I said, I was on my way to pick up my daughter when I got the news. Yeah, and I didn't even get the news because my daughter lives like an hour away. So first I got the Kobe news. I pulled over, collected myself for a minute, drove to get her, and then by the time I got out to her area, because I didn't want to look at my phone when I got the news. So I think I ran into somewhere to use the bathroom, and then somebody else ran up on me and was like, "Yeah, man," was talking about it. And was like, "Yeah," and they said he was with his daughter too, and I was like, damn, like that was just a whole nother level to it. I think that's what hit the hardest for me. Like going out like that way, just with your daughter on a Sunday morning, doing what any good dad would be doing, taking her to a basketball game. It was just like, it just didn't make sense. But at the same time, it was just a reminder that we all gonna go at some point. And yeah, that was him and Gigi and everyone else that was on that helicopter. That was unfortunately just their day to go. So yeah, I'm gonna celebrate his life as much as I can forever, but especially on the anniversary. I know Vanessa mentioned that she doesn't want people focusing too much on the crash on the anniversary. She rather them, celebrate his life and, what I'm saying, everything he meant to people and just the positive aspects of, what he left us with. But it's gonna be a tough day for sure.
Yeah. Nah.
Yep.
You bring up like what you were doing when you got the news, and I think like that's like one of those moments where you'll always remember what you were doing when you found out. I was at work, and I'm not sure if it was from the group chat or how, but something came across my phone, and it was like it said Kobe and others died during this helicopter crash. And like I couldn't work. Like I had to go in the back and ask them like, yo, can you take care of the patients for a while for me? And I just had to go kind of like take some time and just have my moment, because like you said, we all grew up with him, and like I have a couple moments that I will never forget with Kobe. I remember going to see him at the Long Beach Pyramid for his first summer league, or it was just preseason at that time. It was just preseason. And so it was, it was nice. That's when you actually got to see the rookies play. And I remember everybody, there was kind of like, no one really knew, we knew he was like a star coming out of high school, but that was back when like to go from high school to the league was like, and actually make an impact that first year was kind of like, nah. So no one really expected him to do anything in that preseason. And I just remember like watching him walk out on that floor and like the attitude he had, and he just like went out there and showed out.
He always felt like he was the best.
Yeah.
Even because
no matter what, from day one.
In that book, they talk a little bit about how, like, I think his senior year of high school, he was playing against some pros. They were practicing somewhere in Philly, and somehow he ended up practicing with the 76ers, and he was giving them buckets as a high schooler, like professional basketball player. So, yeah, he always knew. He always knew he was the one.
And it was just something about him when you looked, like when I saw him in that moment, like you could just tell like the demeanor, the way he carried himself. Like I knew like he's a star. And so I went and I bought a couple Kobe Bryant rookie cards. Like I still have those, and like I'm holding on to those for forever.
Oh yeah.
But like that moment,
don't let me find them.
The moment when like I'll never forget being in Thailand when he, his last game. That game was amazing. And like I was in an airport. I was actually in China on my way to Thailand, and the excitement, like, and how y'all know Kobe is huge in China, and like the whole airport was just buzzing every time he scored. And it was like, if I wasn't gonna be in LA to see it, with some real Laker fans, like it was dope to be in China and just feel that energy, because they had TVs all through the airport. So I'm going from one terminal to the next, and I'm just seeing Kobe just every time I look up, he's scoring again. I'm like, this is insane for this man's last game. Right. And like every time he scored, the whole airport cheered. And I was just like, to have that type of effect on the entire world, like that's a special man. And it transcends basketball. Like everyone can identify with just like hard work, extreme focus and dedication, determination, like the things that he stood for. Like you can take in all aspects of life, like, and that's something that for me, like, definitely inspired me and provided me that drive through like school and medical school, and just try to be like literally mamba mentality. Like it sounds like gimmicky or whatever, but it's just like it's so real to just think about like what he stood for and how many people he influenced. And even though he wasn't an LA native, his mentality is forever embedded in LA.
Nah, so. He's ours. He used to hoop at Southwest College. Anyone from LA, right? Anyone from LA who knows where Southwest College is, like. Right.
I mean, well, if you really think about it, he spent more of his life in LA than anywhere. So, yeah, he is ours. He absolutely is.
Yeah. Nah, it's crazy because I was coming back from Big Bear, driving down the hill or whatever back in, and Jill, my wife, she just started screaming, and I got mad because I was like, because Jill has this tendency to like over exaggerate things, and so when she just screamed at the top of her lungs, I was like, yo, I'm driving, and then she said it, and I was like, I didn't know I was like, nah, you lying. Like, you lying, And I didn't believe it. I was like, there's got to be a mistake, something. And then my phone started blowing up. And when my phone started blowing up, I just started crying.
Yeah. You knew it was real.
I was just like, yo, there's no way. And I think because Kobe was a superhero to us.
Yeah, he wasn't just a man.
He was the big brother, the superhero. We saw him battle through every injury known to man and still produce every night. He was invincible. And then to think about him going out in a crash, that's what it took to take him out, right? Cuz he was just that dude. What, man, I think with all of 2022, because one of the things that really bothered me is there was just a lot of really good people that I saw pass, and Kobe was at the top of that list. And I just feel for his wife and his daughter, his oldest daughter for sure. Obviously his two youngest daughters are going to have to deal with the trauma of everybody else telling them about their father, all these great things about their father that they never really got to experience for themselves. And all you can do is take it, and you got to accept it, and try to embody exactly like y'all saying, the Mamba mentality in your own lives. Lead with purpose and intention, hard work and dedication, and keep his spirit alive. But that shit hurts. And there's days when sometimes I just be sitting around I can't believe he's dead.
I gotta remind myself
really,
that's really
Kobe
real.
is dead. It almost seems like it still feels like a bad dream at times that you're just gonna wake up from. But
he contributed so much in so few years, really, and to think the amount of things he would have continued to contribute. And I think he, more than any other athlete I've ever seen, took that transition from career to retirement, and he just did it so gracefully. It was like what you envision every athlete should, that's how it should be when they retire. Focus on family, focus on these post-career endeavors where you're actually still making an impact on the game, and then furthering your legacy. He just did it so beautifully.
He defied odds, man. Everybody thought when he retired he was going, you're going to have to drag him off the court, and because he was so in love with the game. But Kobe was a man of purpose and intentionality in everything he did. So basketball just happened to be the thing that he was exceptionally very good at, and that's what he focused his purpose and intentionality on when he needed to. And then when he realized that was going, he focused it, on his family, I guess at least more publicly, on investments, on storytelling, on all of those things that also led to him making an indelible mark, in just the 4 or 5 years after his retirement. But my favorite moment, I think, is the game winner against Phoenix in 2006. That was I still to this day, probably second is when I didn't see the 81-point game, but I remember it happened on a Sunday.
Yep.
And I was getting ready for school the next day. I was in college getting ready for school the next day, and I went to the box scores because I checked the box scores every night, and I saw they said 81, and I remember it because I think T-Mac had like 40 something that night, and I think somebody else had like 40 or 4. And I was like, oh, this is a typo. Like, this is. I was refreshing the page, like trying to like, and that shit kept saying 81, and I was like, oh, this nigga didn't. And then my final was his last game, because like.
That was special.
My friend convinced me to go from. I was living in Orange County. My friend convinced me to come down to Staples Center. I didn't have tickets at all. Like, just come down there just to enjoy. And I was really debating whether I was gonna come, but I went down there. And man, when he just started hitting shot after shot after shot, and everybody, the whole city, the whole downtown is just collectively just cheering, like, yo, like this. And I mean, that's just the impact that he had, man. So He's special, man. He was a special dude, and it's just really heartbreaking. But
his legacy will live forever. I think that's the thing that I always tell myself when I'm like, I miss Kobe. Like, I'm like, who else can you just pull up this many videos, this many interviews? Like, I can always feel like, all right, let me listen to a little bit of Kobe, at least the figure that he was.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Sam?
I was on the sideline. We were in warm-ups. So the team was warming up, and I was checking my phone because somebody else in our conference was playing before us. So I was, checking to see the score. And I got the TMZ alert about it. And if, like you guys, it was like, no, this, and it was coming across kind of vague at first. It was like,
was it real? Was it a rumor?
And I remember that the first thing that came across was that a helicopter had crashed on the way to that facility in Thousand Oaks. And the day before, we had a younger recruit, like 8th grade, who was interested or whatever. She had come because she was from a different state. She was there playing in a tournament at the Mama facility. So I knew there was a tournament there. I knew that, what was happening there. And obviously we all knew, being Kobe fans, that he had a helicopter, So you're putting these things together, but you're still in this state of disbelief, right? Sure. And once they finally, said it, and you find out who it is and all that, it's just this level of shock. And basketball has always been the place where you can go, or I can go, and block everything out. And I'm just worried about the game. When I was playing, same as when I'm coaching. And that game, I probably was a terrible coach, because I just wasn't, I wasn't locked in. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's where I was when it happened, and then you just find out more and more, and it's tough, obviously. But he was he took on this heroic thing for the people of LA and for basketball fans, and I was my moments that I always remember from him. I remember sitting in my bottom bunk bed, watching the Western Conference Finals, where they come back against the Blazers, and he throws that lob to Shaq. Shaq dunks it and runs down the floor, pointing her up, right? And Kobe's just hyped. Throws that lob. We have furiously come back. Throws that lob. Shaq dunks it. I jumped out of my bunk bed and hit my head so hard on that top bunk and kept celebrating, but I had a concussion. So I'll always remember that. And then being, how I got to, I don't know, but being able to go to his last game.
I remember you and Slack.
You gotta tell that story one day. It's a funny story.
Yeah, getting able to, I'll definitely tell that story
that's
one
dope.
day. But
yeah,
I was in the building for his last game. Didn't have tickets, but we were in the building, so we didn't have seats, but we were in there, and it was palpable. Like, you could feel
and around the world. That's the crazy part. That's why I try to say, in China, it was like you could feel the energy in the whole airport.
And we were in there, and first, second, third quarter, you're like, oh, this is dope to be here for this. And then he started to go on this run, and like I said, we didn't have tickets. So we were like kind of watching on the TVs and, you know, at some of the restaurants around. And so he starts going on this run. They start coming back. We go into one of the, you know, where the seats are. And we knew, like, if we went there, the usher's going to be like, where are your seats, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So we go and we're kind of looking like this. And there's maybe 4 minutes left. And the usher looks back at us and he's like, come on. So he lets us stand in front where nobody's supposed to stand. He lets us stand in front and watch the rest of the game for like the last 3 minutes and watch this stuff happen. And it's
That's
just
dope. And you got to meet him.
And yeah, and then that was my last one, is like getting the chance a few years later to meet him. You know, to meet him and his daughter and you know, take a picture with them. And,
you met Gigi?
Know, I didn't. Yeah, and I didn't have it wasn't some big profound conversation or anything like that, but just the fact that he was willing to do that.
Right.
Take a picture and, you know, and then even just like when I tore my Achilles, being able to watch him come back from Achilles surgery, like he was so inspirational in the things that he did, and like, you know, he starts his career airballing a bunch of threes, and doesn't let that hold him. Nah, like, he still becomes who he became, and so that's a lesson in any aspect of life, is to like, it doesn't matter how you start or the failure that you've had. He taught us that you can overcome that with just sheer like grit and determination.
Yeah, like Esquire said, him defying odds. Like he was doing that before he got, like, they doubted him in high school because they doubted the competition level he was playing against. Coming out of high school, going into the draft, a lot of guys didn't feel like he was even worthy of that lottery pick. Like he constantly defied odds. Even going back to being in Italy, like, yeah, he was just a model of perseverance, like you said, resilience, overcoming. He was just a true legend, like just the definition of a legend in every sense of the word. Like Doc said, even the way he handled himself, the way he carried himself post-career, the way he reached out to the younger guys and was willing to work with them, give them game. Like Kyrie talked about it, Jason Tatum talked about it. I mean,
trumpet the women's game.
Yeah, you saw the effect that he had.
Exactly. He was trying to champion the women's game, trying to bring awareness to that, rocking even down to rocking the WNBA hoodie. Like,
and he knew because he had daughters too. So it meant more to him.
You didn't see no other players rocking no WNBA hoodies. That was probably the first time I've ever seen one.
And now they all do
it. The crazy thing too is like how like everybody's like, Kobe, you need a son, and it's like, just the way he lived his life, he controlled what he could control to a T. If he could control it, he was gonna grab that bitch by the reins and control it. But if he couldn't, he accepted it as well, right? And it's like, he had 4 daughters, and he had one of his daughters that said she want to be the best. So he's like, all right, we gonna make you the best. And it's just, they don't make people like that, man. Like those, those type of people, like those don't come around that often. So, man, yeah, that's a huge loss.
For sure. Kobe forever.
So, hey,
legacy will live forever.
We'll always have that poster back there, and everything we do, we look to Kobe in that example of, you know, working our hardest, controlling what we can control, and looking to be the best at whatever it is.
Facts.
So, rest in peace to Kobe.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Mamba. Kobe Bryant.
Gigi.
Much love.
Yep.